صلى على أفضلهم وخاتم النبيين محمد الأمين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Brother Chairman Abdullah Ulamali, Chairman of the organizing the Management Committee of the Islamic Cultural Center, members of the board, and brothers and sisters here in Mauritius, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Nuclear war is an important subject, and it would be irresponsible on the part of a Muslim community not to be informed about the subject, particularly when there are passages in the Quran and there are prophecies of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ which are directly related to the subject. There are some who argue that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who created this universe, will not allow it to be destroyed. And so they dismiss the possibility of nuclear war. They did not do their homework, because the first place you should go in search for knowledge is the Book of Allah, and they did not do that, obviously. Allah says in the Quran, and this is a verse of pivotal importance, it is in Surah Nahl, Surah number 18. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ونزلنا عليك الكتاب تبيانا لكل شيء وهدى ورحمة وبشرى للمسلمين صدق الله العظيم. And we sent down the book, the Quran, on thee, O Muhammad sallallahu ta'ala alayhi wa sallam, that this book might explain all things. So you don't look for political guidance from CNN and Al Jazeera, and for guidance concerning the economic life, and guidance concerning monetary affairs from the Washington Post and the New York Times, when you have the Quran, which is the primary source of guidance. It's another matter that we have failed, and failed miserably, in this modern age of the ascendancy of modern Western civilization, in going to the Quran to search for that which explains political reality today, economic reality today, monetary reality today. We do not know what is the direction of the movement of history. We do not know where the world is going, because we have failed in going to the Quran to search for that which explains. And so we resemble a piece of wood in the ocean, and the waves are tossing us in whichever direction they want to toss us. And the wind takes us in whichever direction it wants to take us. Usually it's in the direction of Washington. And so tonight we make tawbah for our neglect of the Quran, and tonight we turn to the Quran. What does the Quran have to say on the subject of nuclear war? Is it possible that the world will experience nuclear war? They don't know in Washington They don't know anything. They can just guess what will happen. But we have knowledge. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us at the beginning, when He sent Adam alayhi salam to live on earth. Mankind is now placed on earth. And He says in Surah Al-Baqarah, and this is the first ayah we are quoting, وَلَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ مُسْتَقَرٌّ وَمَتَاعٌ إِلَىٰ حِينٍ. A place where you can live, you can reside. In the English language, habitat, in French, habitat. The earth will remain for you a place where you can rest and you can reside, habitat, for only a limited duration, not forever. That's a warning that one day the earth will no longer be able to sustain life. That's an ominous warning. And then we go to a second verse of the Quran. And these verses come out like pearls on a necklace. All you have to do is to be able to put them together. That's all. Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran. And Allah says, وَإِنَّا لَجَاعِلُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا صَعِيدًا جُرُزًا. That we have given you this good earth as a place of beauty and of therefore enjoyment. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. To test you. Are you going to be grateful? Will you be grateful to me for what I have given to you? The rivers, the mountains, the green mountains of Mauritius. Will you show respect for what I gave to you? Will you treasure it? Will you protect it? وَإِنَّا لَجَاعِلُونَ مَا عَلَيْهَا صَعِيدًا جُرُزًا. And one day we will reduce all that is on the earth to the equivalent of dust, dry dust. And so the earth will become like a barren dust bowl. That is the Quran. And it is very relevant to our subject. And then there is Surah Al-Isra, in which the picture now begins to unfold in greater detail and precision. And Allah gives a warning in Surah Al-Isra, which is Surah number 17. And He says, وَإِن مِّن قَرْيَةٍ إِلَّا نَحْنُ مُهْلِكُوهَا قَبْلَ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ أَوْ مُعَذِّبُوهَا عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. That one day we will destroy all the towns and cities. We destroy them all. And in the Quran, what that means is most of them will be destroyed. And those which escape destruction will suffer a terrible fate of great punishment. So you have a choice. You can either be amongst those who are destroyed, or if you escape destruction, the consequences could be even worse. In what way does Allah destroy? He can destroy with earthquakes. He can destroy with storms and so on. He can destroy with big boulders coming down from the sky. But there is implicit in this verse of the Quran something new, something different from the way He has normally destroyed towns and cities. That most will be destroyed, but those which are not destroyed will suffer terrible punishment, as though this is going to be a new form of destruction and the punishment. What would it be? This is with Surah? So for us, this is Surah Al-Isra. Surah Al-Isra. We started with Surah Al-Baqarah. Then we went to Surah Al-Kahf. Yes, we said, no, that was not part of the lecture, that was just introduction. On the subject of nuclear war, we started with Surah Al-Baqarah. And then we went to Surah Al-Kahf. And then we went to Surah Al-Isra. The pearls of the necklace are being strung. Well, now we go to Surah Al-Dukhan. The Prophet ﷺ was passing by and found his companions sitting and talking amongst themselves, and he asked, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "We're talking about alamat as-sa'ah, the signs of the last day." And then he answered, as no scholar can answer, no university could possibly answer that. Only a prophet of Allah would speak like this. And he said, the last day would not come. And he mentioned 10. And these are known as the 10 major signs. And normally I would not allow you to leave the hall until you memorize them. Number one, they're not given in the chronological order in which they will occur. No. Number one, Dajjal, the false Messiah. And you cannot penetrate the subject of Dajjal without a study of world history, without a study of international politics, without a study of the world economy, without a study of monetary economics. You cannot study Dajjal without a study of comparative religion. You need a versatile scholarship. It is this subject which separates true scholarship from scholarship which is not as yet prepared for Dajjal. Number two, Dajjal, who is the false Messiah, who will seek to impersonate the true Messiah, who is Nabi Isa alayhi salam. Number two, Gog and Magog, Ya'juj and Ma'juj. And I have a book on that subject which you may have already seen, an Islamic view of Gog and Magog in the modern world. Number three, the return of the son of Mary, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, the most powerful voice in the world, the most powerful voice in history to have prophesied the return of Jesus, the son of Mary, is the voice of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. Is it not time for us to tell this to Russia, to tell this to Greece, and to Armenia, and to Hungary, and to Bulgaria, and to Romania? No need to talk to Britain and the United States and France. No need. It's a waste of time. Number four, Dukhan, smoke. Dabbatul ard, a beast or a creature of the land. Number 6, that the sun would rise from the west. Number 7, 8 and 9, 3 earthquakes. But this is an earthquake in which the earth sinks down. So it's called a khas, plural khusuf. It sinks down and swallows what it swallows. One in the east, one in the west, and the third one in, Diego Garcia? No, Arabia. And number 10, and this is now the front burner, number 10 is on the front burner, that a fire will come out of Yemen and drive people, drive them to the place of assembly for judgment. I love this one very much. The Saudis don't like it at all. I should have the liberty to give my opinion. So these are the 10 major signs of the last day. And amongst them there is dukhan, or smoke. And now let us go to the Quran. Surah Al-Dukhan, and Allah says, فَارْتَقِبْ, wait. Wait for what? يَوْمَ تَأْتِي السَّمَاءُ بِدُخَانٍ مُبِينٍ. Wait for that day. Wait for that day when the sky will bring forth a pall of smoke all over the sky. Is there a link between the destruction of all towns and cities and smoke covering the sky? For me, yes. They are linked together. What can cause that smoke? Christian eschatology says it's going to last for 40 days. Islamic eschatology has a hadith about 3 days of darkness, no sunlight. No sunlight. We now come to the 5th ayah that I will quote on this next list of ayah pertaining to nuclear war. And Allah says in Surah Al-Rahman, this is the most crucial one, وَيُرْسِلُ عَلَيْكُمْ أَشْوَازٌ مِّن نَارٍ وَنُحَاسٌ فَلَا تَنْتَصِرَانِ. A flash of fire will be let loose upon you. And then will come the smoke, and you will be left without any help. Did you know this was in the Quran? This is plain and clear. It could be anything else but nuclear war. And the smoke would be the mushroom clouds that come after the nuclear explosions. This looks like war. So who is waging war? On who? Again, it's time for us to recognize that we have been negligent with the Quran. Guess who is waging war? Flash of fire. This flash of fire will be let loose upon you, and then the smoke, and no help for you on that day. Now, who is waging war? Are you aware of the very last word which came down in the Quran, the very last revelation? Do you know that Allah was sending revelation from the time of Adam alayhi salam? For thousands of years. And now comes Nabi Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, who is the last, no more after him. And for 20 23 years revelation has been coming down. And now the moment has come for the last revelation. He is at Arafat. It is the Hajj. And he gives the farewell khutbatul wida. And then he asks, "O people, do you bear witness that I have delivered the message?" And they all declare, "Yes." It looks as though the curtain is now coming down. And then he came down from Arafat, and the revelation came down. Al-Yawm Akmaltu lakum deenakum. This day have I perfected for you your deen. Wa atmamtu alaykum ni'amati. And I have completed my favor unto you is finished, completed. Wa raditu lakum al-Islam deena. And I am pleased to bestow on you Islam as your deen. Very plainly and clearly it looks as though it's now finished, perfected. But no. The divine wisdom is at work. Nabi Muhammad ﷺ returns to Medina, and he has about 81 days left in his blessed life. And before he dies, Allah sends down one more revelation. After having said, the job is done. In other words, this is to deliver the mother of all warnings. The mother of all warnings. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وذروا ما بقي من الربا إن كنتم مؤمنين. O you who have faith in Allah, fear Allah, اتقوا الله, and give up what remains of your demand for riba, if you are indeed believers. وإن لم تفعلوا, and if you do not do that, فأذنوا بحرب من الله ورسوله, then take notice that I will wage war on you, and my messenger will wage war on you. Who is he talking to? He's talking to those who have faith in this Quran. He's talking to the Muslims. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu, O you who have faith in Allah. Today, riba has saturated the world everywhere. And it is the mother of all munkar. Munkar, something evil. And how should we respond to munkar if we are a people who are faithful to Allah and His Messenger? How should we respond to the banking system around the world, which is saturated with riba? Man ra'a munkaran falyughayyirhu biyadihi. I hope no one will be offended by my quoting the hadith. I have a job to do. If you see something which is munkar, like the banking system based on riba, فَيُغَيِّرُهُ بِيَدِهِ, then you must do something about it, to change it. Do something about it, to change it. وَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِلِسَانِهِ. If you cannot change it with action, then change it with your tongue. Speak out against it. وَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَبِقَلْبِهِ. And if you cannot change it with your tongue, then at least in your heart you should be detesting it. Your heart is restless. You can't sleep. You can't digest your food because of this munkar all around you, riba. وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. But when you reach that stage, where it is in your heart you are detesting it, you are restless, you can't eat, you can't sleep. That is the weakest state of Iman, weakest. But what about when there is nothing in the heart and you go home and you eat your biryani and you go to sleep? The banking system is there. It doesn't bother you. You eat your biryani. Oh, give me another nice dish in Mauritius. You eat your biryani, you have no restlessness in your heart. There is no pain and sorrow in your heart, no. And you take your biryani and you go to sleep. Do we have any faith at all in our hearts? So is it any surprise that Allah should be waging war on us? But He started by saying, Allah who created this universe will not allow it to be destroyed, forgetting that Allah can Himself destroy it. Because He said, I'm going to wage war on you. I'm going to wage war on you. Then take notice of a declaration of war from Allah and His Messenger. But we're going to go back now to a war which will destroy all the major towns and cities. And those which are not destroyed will suffer terrible punishment. And it is a war in which there will be a flash of fire followed by smoke. We say it's nuclear war. If you have a better answer, we'd be happy to hear it. If it is nuclear war, then the first implication is that those cities and those towns which are not destroyed, if Mauritius is not destroyed, for example, the first implication for those who survive in the major towns and cities would be that your line of supply for food and for water would be disrupted. Major cities don't feed themselves. You can't grow food and concrete. Major cities have to be fed from outside. And the water supply has to come from outside. And when nuclear war takes place, one bomb in Hiroshima killed 300,000 people, destroyed the city. One bomb. One bomb in Nagasaki destroyed a city. And today's nuclear weapons, we are told, are about 1,000 times more powerful than the ones that destroyed Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And they have thousands of weapons. There are, I think, 6 or 8 states in the world with nuclear weapons, including one Muslim. Used to be the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Looks more to be like the American Republic of Pakistan, with nuclear weapons. So when there is a war, a nuclear war, and the war is being fought to the finish, they're going to use everything they have. Everything they have to destroy the enemy. So the consequence of thousands of nuclear weapons exploding would be that flash of fire that the Quran is speaking about. And the clouds that follow it, the mushroom clouds. And we say it will disrupt the supply of food and of water for the major cities of the world which escape destruction. And when people are searching frantically for food and for water, and that search turns violent, you wouldn't want to be in Paris at that time. No, because people are dying, and they'll break down your door if they suspect that you have water or you have food. So the consequence of being alive after the nuclear war and you are located in the cities which cannot feed themselves and provide water, would be azaban shadid, a terrible, terrible, terrible punishment. Who are the combatants in this war which has produced this flash of fire? There are verses of the Quran which help us to understand what's coming up. And I want to take a little time now to take you to Surah Al-Ma'idah. And Allah speaks and says, لَن تَجِدَنَّ. This is a statement of tremendous emphasis. لَتَجِدَنَّ. You will most certainly find, not a shadow of a doubt. What? أشد الناس عداوة للذين آمنوا اليهود. That the time will come when a number of things are going to take place simultaneously. So look for them coming together. Number one, that those who will have the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for you Muslims were the Jews. But of course you know the rules, that you do not seek meaning of the Quran from a solitary verse. That could lead to mistakes and great embarrassment. No. When the Quran says you will most certainly find Jews to have the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for you, it is not speaking about all Jews. Not at all. Today, since the year 1897, when the Zionist movement was created, and a Judeo-Christian alliance came into being, the Judeo-Christian Zionist Alliance, European Jews and European Christians, hell-bent on creating the state of Israel, in the Holy Land, by the book or by the group, and then ensuring that Israel rules the world. I am not talking through my hat. This is solid facts. They lied. Oh yes, they lied when they said, all that we want is to find a place to live for a people who don't have a home. That was a monstrous lie. What they wanted to do was to create a state that would eventually rule the world. And today that state boasts of the fact that they control the US Congress. Do I need to say more? Or shall we continue to live in Disneyland? These are the ones who show the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility today. Those Jews who are Zionist Jews, not all Jews. وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا. But in addition to those Jews who in time to come will show the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for you, there will be another people whose, I can use the French term, whose raison d'etre would be shirk, built on the foundations of blasphemy, of shirk. And these people will also display the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for Islam, waging war on Islam. Who are these messengers of blasphemy, of shirk? Well, today is Thursday, is it? Today is Wednesday, and tomorrow is Thursday, and then after that is Friday. Why are you afraid to say Friday? Come on, Abdullah. a fry. Don't plead ignorance in court. Don't plead ignorance in court. Friday is the day for the worship of Fry. And Fry is a Scandinavian goddess with blonde hair probably. Isn't that true? Sunday is the day for the worship of the sun. Now Allah gave us the name in the Quran. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu إذا نودي للصلاة من يوم الجمعة فاسعوا إلى ذكر الله. O you who have faith in Allah, when the call to prayer is given on the day of Jum'ah, Yawm al-Jum'ah, this is our day, Yawm al-Jum'ah. But they have come and seduced us into using Friday. I don't know what's the meaning of Bangladesh. You probably know it better than me. So in the English-speaking world, you see the shirk. I'll give you another example. In Surah Al-Tawbah of the Quran, I can't give you too many examples, just one more, and then we move on. In Surah Al-Tawbah of the Quran, Allah says, اتخذوا أحبارهم ورهبانهم أربابا من دون الله. They took their priests and rabbis and the Messiah, the son of Mary, they took them as their God, Lord, Messiah, Allah, worshipping them. وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا يَعْبُدُوا إِلَهًا وَاحِدًا. But they had not been ordered other than to worship one God. لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ. There is no God beside him. Subhanahu, glory be to him. عَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ. Far removed, you see, from this shirk of worshipping your priests and your rabbis and worshipping the Messiah. So a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, O Messenger of Allah, but the Christians don't worship the priests, no. And the Jews don't worship the rabbis. How could Allah say so? Which surah? Abdullah, you can't sit next to me. Surah Al-Tawbah. Surah Al-Tawbah. You probably won't be here Friday. Surah Al-Tawbah. So, O Messenger of Allah, how could Allah say so? When the Christians don't worship their priests and the Jews don't worship their rabbis. The Prophet replied and said, did they not make halal what Allah made haram? That is their shirk. And did the people not follow them in it? That is their shirk. Well then, let me explain to you that Allah spoke about money in the Quran. This is our subject for the next lecture. In the Quran, He has given us dinar. The word dinar is in the Quran. A gold coin. In the Quran, He has given us dirham. The word dirham is in the Quran, a silver coin. This is halal money. Do you know what they did? Those who displayed the greatest hatred and enmity and hostility for us, they created the International Monetary Fund with the Articles of Agreement of the International Monetary Fund, which our muftis are too busy to study. And in the Articles of Agreement of the International Monetary Fund, even Dr. Muhammad Mahathir, Prime Minister of Malaysia, didn't know it. Someone had to point out to him. They have prohibited the use of gold as money. These wicked people, in order they can use inflation as the most dangerous weapon with which they can attack you. So they have prohibited the use of gold as money. So they made haram haram, but Allah made halal. That is shirk. And we accept that monetary system. We have a surprise coming up for us. We have a surprise waiting for us in the grave. We are also in that shirk. I've given you these two examples. So Allah speaks about these two people. Al-Yahud, the Jews who displayed the greatest hatred and enmity, war on Islam, and other people based on shirk, which is modern West. Greatest hatred, war on Islam. They call it war on terror, but everybody knows a war on Islam. And now the Quran goes on to say something else. Three things will occur simultaneously. Three. We have two already. The Jews, وَالَّذِينَ أَشْرَكُوا وَلَتَجِدَنَّ, and you will most certainly find in time to come, أَقْرَبَهُمْ مَوَدَّةً لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا الَّذِينَ قَالُوا إِنَّا نَصَارَى. That at that time when these two things appear, a third thing will appear. What is it? If only we used to take some time to study the Quran. Because it's now about to occur. We are living now on the doorstep of number 3. A momentous change is coming to the world. And you most certainly find that those who will have the greatest love and greatest affection for you Muslims would be a people who say, we are Christians. We are Christians. But the Quran does not stop there. It goes on to say something more about those Christians. ذَلِكَ بِأَنَّ مِنْهُمُ الْقِسِّيسِينَ وَرُهْبَانَ وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ. That is because they have amongst them qissīsun, plural of qiss, priests, pastors, وَرُهْبَانَ and monks, the monastic way of life, monasteries. وَأَنَّهُمْ لَا يَسْتَكْبِرُونَ, and they are not an arrogant people. They are not an arrogant people. That's how you recognize those Christians. Well then, which are these Christians? Obviously, you need only 5 rupees worth of intelligence to understand. It could not be a Christian people who are in friendship and alliance with the Jews, who have the greatest hatred for us. So it can't be Washington, it can't be London, it can't be Paris, it can't be NATO, from where ISIS is taking all our weapons. It can't be Saudi Arabia, who is supporting the Zionist alliance. No? It cannot be that part of the Christian world. You have to eliminate them. The Quran cannot be speaking about those Christians. And those are Christian people who have abandoned the monastic way of life. They don't have monasteries anymore. They're all closed down now. The monastery is either McDonald's or Pizza Hut. That's where the monastery is now. And these Christians who are going to have love for us, they're not an arrogant people. And I say it's arrogance. If you serve me curry fish and rice, and I roll up my sleeve, and I wash my hands, and I eat the way all the prophets of Allah ate, with my hands, and then you say that's barbarian. You are uncivilized. Huh? That I must, in order to be civilized, I must live the way you live. I must learn to eat with cutlery. And I must give up this clothing and I must wear a jacket and a tie and the trousers. وَلَنْ تَرْضَى عَنْكَ الْيَهُودَ وَلَا النَّصَارَى حَتَّى تَتَّبِيَ مِلَّتَهُمْ. Allah says it all in the Quran, if only we would take a little time to study the Quran. They will never rest, they will never be content until they get you to become a carbon copy of themselves. You have to give up your way of life. Give it up. And follow their way of life in order to be civilized. That's arrogance. And these are not the Christian people who are arrogant. So it eliminates the West. Who are these Christian people who have monasticism amongst them, who don't want to transform the world into carbon copies of themselves, and therefore they never colonize the whole world? Who are these Christian people? Do we know any Christian people today who still holding on to monasticism? Do you know a Christian people today who are not arrogant? They don't want to transform the whole world into carbon copies of themselves like Washington wants. Do you know a Christian people today who are amenable? If you preach Islam to them, and you do it with honesty and integrity in Armenia. I mentioned Armenia first, because the Pope just mentioned it. If you preach Islam to them with honesty and integrity, and you do it with hikmah, with wisdom, then you get a positive response from them. Who are these Christian people? A year and a half ago I went to Moscow for the first time. I was invited to give a lecture on Islamic eschatology at the State University of Moscow. And they brought some of Russia's most eminent scholars of eschatology. One was sitting on my left side. And Professor Alexander Dugin was sitting on my right side, who is one of the eminent thinkers of Russia today, Alexander Dugin. And I spoke on Islamic eschatology. After the Ottoman Empire had waged hundreds of years of war, relentless war, unjust war, unjust war, unjust war on Russia. And yet, the people who should have had hatred for Islam, because this is what Muslims did to us for hundreds of years, enslaving our women, selling them. This is what the Ottoman Empire did. Taking our sons and converting them to Islam by force. And then bringing up our own sons to become the elite fighting force of the Ottoman Empire. This is what Islam done this. Take the greatest cathedral of Orthodox Christianity, Hagia Sophia, and converted it shamefully and disgracefully and manifestly, sinfully into a masjid. That's what the Ottomans did. They took the greatest cathedral of Orthodox Christianity, which had functioned as a mother cathedral for 1,000 years, Hagia Sophia, in Constantinople. And they shamefully and disgracefully, to the eternal disgrace of the Ummah Muhammad and manifestly sinfully transformed it into a masjid. Shame on you, shame on you, shame on you, Sultan Muhammad Fatih. I thank Allah who gave to Imran, the student of Maulana Fadlur Rahman Ansari, gave me a chance to speak these words, so they're entered in my record for Testament Day. These people should have had hatred for me after all of this. And yet when I spoke at the State University of Moscow a year and a half ago, they treated me with respect. They ended the session with affection for me. They invited me to come back again. And when I told them that the major sign of Akhirul Zaman for the world of Islam is the return of the true Messiah, the son of the Virgin Mary, they smiled and smiled and smiled and could not stop smiling. It was a surprise to them, because this is also in their eschatology. It was a surprise to them because Iran had gone before me. And Iran had informed them that the major sign of Akhirul Zaman in Islamic eschatology is the advent of Imam al-Mahdi. And I had to correct them. And they were very happy. Not only that, the internet is a double-edged sword. And as I have been lecturing on Islamic eschatology, and my lectures have been going on the internet, I am getting a constant positive response from that part of the world. From Greece, from Armenia, from Bulgaria, from Russia. And so what the Quran is speaking of is Orthodox Christianity, not that Christianity which celebrates Christmas on December 25th, but this Christianity which celebrates Christmas in January, I think it's January 9th. The Quran also speaks about alliances. And this is in Surah Al-Anfal. It would have been helpful for you to have your notebooks, you know. Surah Al-Anfal, Allah says, الكافرون بعضهم أولياء بعض. The kuffar are allies of each other. إن لم تفعلوا, if you do not do the same, if you do not make alliances, إن لم تفعلوه تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد كبير. If you do not reach out for people who have affection for you, people with whom you can build friendship, if you do not reach out for them and make alliances, there will be great fitna and fasad in the world. If we are to reach out to make friendship and alliance, we should first do it within the house of Islam. Within the house of Islam, you should unite. And so at this time, more than ever before, we need Shia-Sunni solidarity. Those, on the other hand, who are beating the drums furiously for Shia-Sunni civil war at this time are agents of Dajjal. Oh yes. If we are to reach out, as Allah asks us to do in this surah of the Quran, Surah Al-Anfal, yeah. If we are to reach out, to build alliances with like-minded people, who should be the first people with whom we should build alliances? I know that there are many governments which are not going to like my answer, but it doesn't matter to me. My duty is to preach the religion as it comes out of the Quran, not to lead any government. Yes. Without regard for consequences. If we are to be faithful to the Quran, then the world of Islam must reach out to make friendship and alliance with Orthodox Christianity, of which Russia is the leader today. And so the nuclear war that is coming is now correct. The nuclear war which is coming will see these two on this side, an alliance between Islam and Orthodox Christianity. Russia is not as yet Orthodox Christian. Russia is still struggling to come out of the deadly embrace of communism and the Soviet Union, which was a Zionist plot to destroy Christianity. But thank Allah, they planned their plans and Allah planned His plans. And communism and the Soviet Union are now in the garbage bin. And Russia is returning to its Christian soul. That part of the world, the Judeo-Christian Zionist Alliance, is hell-bent on facade. And the most visible form of facade is that a man can marry another man and get a marriage certificate. That's facade. Homosexuality. And if you resist it, they say you're suffering from homophobia. What does Russia do? Russia enacts legislation to prohibit it, slapping them on their face. This is a sign that Russia is returning to its Christian soul. So the coming nuclear war will see the Judeo-Christian Zionist alliance on one side, with NATO as its military arm, and an alliance of Islam and Orthodox Christianity on the other side. Has this war started? Yes, it did. It started with the Crusades. The Crusades were not wars waged only against Islam. No. The Crusades were Western wars, the Judeo-Christian alliance, because the Jews were financing the Crusades. And the Crusaders had two targets. One was the world of Islam and the other was the Orthodox Christian world. They wanted to conquer Constantinople. And they did succeed in conquering Constantinople in one crusade. And they held Constantinople for about 80 years until they were driven out. So the war commenced with the Crusades. And the war has continued ever since. There will be no let-up. So when General Allenby entered into Jerusalem in November 1917, in a British army with Muslims fighting loyally, and he declared today the Crusades have ended. That also was a lie. The Crusades are still going on. We don't have the time to take you down through history, to show you the movement, the progress of history as they're closing in on Russia. We don't have that time, but that is a very important part of history to be studied if you are a serious scholar. Okay? What we now see is that they dismantled the Soviet Union, which they themselves had constructed to destroy Orthodox Christianity, when the Soviet Union no longer was of use to them, because they had something better than the Soviet Union to replace it. They dismantled the Soviet Union, and then with the help of Mikhail Gorbachev, all of these former member states of the Soviet Union now became independent states. The plan was to get them all to become part of NATO. They were part of the Warsaw Pact. And as they become part of NATO, the rope will be around Russia's neck. And so said, so done. Most of them became members of NATO. And now the last two, which seem to be moving towards NATO, Armenia, we have the war in Armenia, and Belarus. The prize of all, the biggest prize of all was Ukraine, because Ukraine has a border with Russia. And if Ukraine becomes a member of NATO, then NATO can park nuclear weapons in Ukraine. But they couldn't get Ukraine. Up to 2012, when the elections were held, the government that came to Ukraine was a pro-Russian government. And then came the street revolution, and they did with the street, they paid people to shoot people on the streets and so on, until the president had to flee for his life. And then a new government took over by force of arms. No democracy now. And this new government is now anti-Russian and pro-NATO, pro-West. That's what they're waiting for. As soon as that happened, Russia then acted brilliantly, absolutely brilliantly. And within 2 weeks, Russia was able to recover Crimea. Crimea is a peninsula jutting out into the Black Sea. And the Black Sea is in the Quran. The Black Sea is in Surah Al-Kahf of the Quran. And the Black Sea has a role to play in Akhir Zaman. Yes. And the Black Sea commands the Bosphorus, which is the gateway to the Mediterranean. And if you're in the Mediterranean, you can head for Israel. And they wanted to deny Russia Crimea as a naval port. For hundreds of years they struggled. And then suddenly, within 2 weeks, Russia pulled off the greatest strategic victory ever against the Turks. That recovered Crimea. And now, the longer they wait to attack Russia, the stronger will Russia become. Because Russia now commands the Black Sea as a nuclear power. And the first country to recognize the change in the strategic environment was Turkey. Yeah, Erdogan in Turkey. And Turkey has now backed away from NATO. And Turkey is making overtures towards building some kind of a relationship with Russia. First one. The next country which has seen a dramatic change since Russia took Crimea was Greece. And they spent, I think, 200 years in trying to embrace Greece in the Western camp. And 200 years of effort just went down the drain. A few months ago, the Greek people unceremoniously dumped them. And the new government came to Greece, which is openly pro-Russian, to such an extent that when the Greek Prime Minister visited Moscow recently, the Russian president invited Greece to become a member of BRICS, which is our lecture for the next lecture, inshallah. The Russian recovery of Crimea makes nuclear war now inevitable. This is the political and military analysis of why nuclear war is coming. In the next lecture, we'll give you the monetary analysis, which will complement the political and economic analysis. Sorry, the military analysis, the political and military analysis. Now then, companion, Mu'az ibn Jabal. And Mu'az is sitting next to him, close to him. And he says to Mu'az about the timeline of Akhir al-Zaman. He says, Umran Bayt al-Maqdis kharabu Yathrib. That when you see Jerusalem built up, center stage, flourishing, then look to Medina. Kharabu Yathrib. Medina will be in ruins, buildings will be destroyed. That's what they're doing now, destroying buildings. Medina will be in forlorn desolation, playing absolutely no role in the world. Kharabu Yathrib, Khuruj al-Malhama. That when you see these two things in place, then the next big event that will come is the Malhama. The Malhama is the big war. And that big war, using the verses of the Quran, is actually the nuclear war that we're talking about. But then there is life after the nuclear war. The nuclear war is not going to be the end of the world. Because he said, Khuruj al-Malhama, Fath al-Constantinople. That after the Malhama takes place, or the nuclear war, the next major event will be the conquest of Constantinople. The conquest of Constantinople has only one military significance, only one. And that is it will break the back of NATO, which commands the Bosphorus, and allow the Russian Navy to pass through the Bosphorus into the Mediterranean Sea. And so we Muslims, based on the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, we can say, and NATO of course is dismayed when we say it, but we say to NATO, we don't care, you can put it in your pipe and you can smoke it. Based on what our Prophet has said, we know that Russia will survive the nuclear war. Because Russia will remain a naval power after the nuclear war, since there is a conquest of Constantinople after the Balkan. And then he said finally, Fathul Constantinople, Khuruj al-Dajjal. That when the conquest of Constantinople takes place, that will be the sign for Dajjal to now appear in human form. This is where we will have to stop now. I can't take you more than this in eschatology. How do we prepare for nuclear war? Answer, if we're going to die, then the preparation should be inside. Prepare our faith if we're going to die. By making tawbah to Allah, trying as best as we can to stay away from shirk. So if you don't know what is shirk, go to your scholars and ask them to teach you what is shirk. Why? Because Allah has said in the hadith of Qudsi, tell my servants, if they come to me with sins as high as the sky, I can forgive them all, but I will not forgive shirk. So in the remaining time that we have, we should study the subject of shirk and try as best as we can to take ourselves out of the grip of shirk. Number two, the worst place to be when the Malhama takes place or nuclear war takes place is in the big cities of the world. And the best place to be when the nuclear war takes place is in the remote countryside, in small communities. Why? Because if you survive the nuclear war, the first thing that you would need would be food and water. Food and water. Because these are things that you need within hours, not days or weeks, hours. And if you are in the city, people are going to be fighting and killing each other for food and water. And so if you have food and water, your life will be in danger. So you will want to be in small communities where people will live like a family and support each other and help each other and share with each other whatever little food and water you have. And so we say, do as the people of the cave did in Surah Al-Kahf, and withdraw from the big cities of the world and go to the remote countryside. And this is what we've done in offering our suggestions for building Muslim villages, but more of that at another time, inshallah. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين آمين.
Or is the process of developing nuclear power? Is it a threat for Israel? Or if so, what is the consequence?
Iran is a member state which has acceded to the nuclear non-proliferation treaty. And therefore, by law, Iran cannot develop nuclear weapons. In addition to that, Iran is an Islamic state, and when you give your word, you must keep your word. And therefore, Iran has a double duty not to develop nuclear weapons. Okay? And so we do not consider Iran to be a nuclear state. Rather, we believe that all this hullabaloo over Iran's nuclear plans, all of this beating of the drums and so on, all of this was done in order to force Iran to the negotiating table, impose sanctions on Iran under the previous government, okay? To force Iran to the negotiating table, which happened in Geneva. And then, when you bring Iran to the negotiating table to make a deal with Iran, of course, the deal will never be made public. I am too scared to even tell you in public what that secret deal could possibly be. But there's one part of the deal which very, very clearly is located in eschatology, in Mu'akhir al-Zaman, and connected with Imam al-Mahdi, and you have to use your brain now to figure out what you mean. I'm not going to tell you. The other aspect, however, of the deal, which they were trying to get in Geneva, I don't know whether they got it or not, would be to try to extract Iran from the close ties with Russia. Because this was the Quran speaking about alliance between Muslims and Orthodox Christians. And try to bring Iran, seduce Iran into the Western camp. I believe it was because of fear, Russian fear, that Iran was being seduced. That as soon as the Geneva talks ended in agreement, as soon as that happened, Russia immediately decided to hand over to Iran the, what is it called, the missiles? Somebody help me? SS-300 missiles? Very powerful missiles that Iran had ordered from Russia, and which posed a tremendous danger to Israel. And Russia had not handed over the missiles to Iran so far, so years now. And as soon as the agreement was reached in Geneva, Russia immediately decided to hand over the missiles to Iran. in order to ensure that Iran does move away from the Russian embrace. Yeah. Next question.
Will this be by war or can it be by the political process?
It speaks of a city by the sea. A hadith which speaks of a city by the sea with 3 sides. And the Badu Ishaq will attack the city and they will say Allahu Akbar and one wall will fall, Allahu Akbar, a second one will fall, and so on. And you want me to believe that that city is Constantinople, and I'm not prepared for that. Why? Because of methodology. Whenever the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam referred to that city in the hadith, he always did so by name. The classic one, لَتَفْتَحَنَّ الْقُسْطَنْطِنِيَّةَ. You will most certainly conquer Constantinople. وَلَنِعْمَ الْأَمِيرُ آمِرُهَا وَلَنِعْمَ الْجَيْشُ ذَلِكَ الْجَيْشُ. And what a wonderful army that would be, and what a wonderful commander that would be of that army. So, literary consistency. When the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam is already referring to the city by his name. Why this mysterious hadith where the city is to be mentioned in a mysterious way without the name being mentioned, and one wall collapsing with Allahu Akbar and another one? So I'm not prepared to accept that that hadith is anyway connected with Constantinople.
They converted Hagia Sophia into a mosque, which you can condemn. And the question is about when Umar radiallahu anhu took Jerusalem and converted the places of worship into mosques. What's the difference?
Who is it who has made such a statement? No, you must check out your facts. On the contrary, the Islamic Cultural Center has work to do, man. You got work to do. This did not happen. This did not happen. The Patriarch of Constantinople refused to hand over the keys of the city other than to the Khalifa himself. So Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu had to leave Medina and go to Jerusalem to accept the keys of the city, of the Patriarch. The Patriarch then decided to take him on a tour of Jerusalem. First time Umar is in Jerusalem. And while they are touring, they came to the church of the Holy Sepulchre, I think it's called. And it was a time of Salat. So the Patriarch invited Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhu, very graciously so, that you can perform your prayer in the church. We have no objections. Umar said no. He declined. He said, if I were to perform my salat in this masjid today, tomorrow there will be those who might come to want to convert this church into a masjid. And so he declined and he went outside to perform his salah. So the truth is exactly the opposite from what you stated in your question. Next question.
What about the present crisis in Yemen? Related to our concern.
The present crisis in Yemen. It is possible to analyze the events in Yemen in the form of political analysis, and you might have scholars here in Mauritius more competent than I am. You have some very learned people here in Mauritius. Yeah. my specialization is eschatology. So I would want to confine myself to an analysis of the events in Yemen on the basis of eschatology. When I do so, I find a triangle of Akhirul Zaman. Triangle. A triangle is a figure with three corners, isn't it? Good. The Nabi Muhammad gave us a triangle of Akhirul Zaman. In one corner of the triangle, he said, Allahumma barik lana fi Shamina. He refers to Sham, which is Syria and Palestine. But Damascus is the heart of Sham. And he refers to Sham as our Sham, our beloved Sham. And he prays to Allah for blessings on his beloved Sham. Sham is important for Akhirul Zaman, Damascus. Because the three most important people in Akhirul Zaman are number one, Nabi Isa alayhi salam, who is the return. Number two, Imam al-Mahdi. And number three, Dajjal. And all three are going to be in Damascus at the same time. At the same time. And the second corner of the triangle, he said, Allahumma barik lana fi Shamina wa Yemenina. So he referred to Yemen as my Yemen, my beloved Yemen. He loved Yemen. And he prays for Allah's blessings on Yemen. Yemen is also very important for Akhirul Zaman. Why? Because the major sign of the last days is that a fire will come out of Yemen and will drive people to their place of assembly for judgment. If your fire is coming out of Yemen, and this is not the fire that you're going to cook your biryani with, it's a revolutionary fire. If a fire is going to come out of Yemen, who are the people who are going to be driven? Answer. Answer. To locate the answer, you got to go to the third corner of the triangle. After he had said, Allahumma barik lana fi Shamina wa Yemenina, this hadith is Sahih Bukhari. Then the people ask him, O Messenger of Allah, what about our Najd? Once upon a time, if you use the word Constantinople, everybody knew it was Constantinople. Until it was banished from our vocabulary by those who do not want us to remember the prophecy of Muhammad of a conquest of Constantinople which comes after the nuclear war, after the World War. Once upon a time the word Najd, you know, it's prohibited now to use the word Constantinople in Turkey. If you go to Turkey and you use the name Constantinople, you'll be arrested. You know that? Prohibited, yeah. That's why they put Istanbul, because they don't want you to remember the prophecy of Nabi Muhammad. That's why. Similarly, 100 years ago, everybody knew where was Najd. Everybody knew Najd. Today, Najd is forgotten. Najd is forgotten. Nobody knows about Najd. What is Najd? You'll be surprised. Why? Because very sinfully, disgracefully, shamefully, they have banished the name that the Prophet used, banished it, and replaced it with this shameful thing called Saudi Arabia. Arabia of Saudi. Saudi Arabia means Arabia of Saudi. But Najd is the Sunnah. If Muhammad used the name Najd, then that is the Sunnah. If he used the name Constantinople, then that is the Sunnah. The reason why they have managed the word nudge by giving them the new name Saudi Arabia is because they don't want you to remember this triangle of Akhir Zaman. When they ask him about our nudge, which nudge were they talking about? Arabia has the Hijaz on the western side of the peninsula, and on the eastern side of the peninsula is Najd. In Najd you have the capital city Riyadh, you have Tehran, you have all the oil fields in Najd. Okay? And in the Hijaz you have Makkah and Medina, you have Jeddah. So if the people in the Hijaz, in Makkah, if they ask about our Najd, and if they didn't drink a gallon of whiskey, okay, and they're stone drunk, which Najd would they be referring to? Answer, they'd be referring to the Najd which is next door to the Hijaz. Yeah. I don't know where common sense is going to be. It will be next door. So when they ask about our Najd, they were talking about the Najd which is next door, not in Iraq or in Disneyland. When they ask about our Najd, he was silent. That silence was meant to send an ominous message. That silence. He refused to talk. He was silent. And then they ask a second time, what about our Najd? And once again, don't come with this rubbish. It is utter rubbish to come to tell me that Najd is in Iraq and bring this hadith and that hadith and take them all and throw them away because it is common sense. When they ask for a second time, what about our Najd? Meaning the Najd which is next door. Then he said, and those words, prophetic words, have come to pass today. He said, from there, pointing to the east, will come fitna, that will be tests and trials. One of the biggest tests and trials of all came from Najd in 1974, and that is our next lecture. When Najd made the deal with Kissinger, that oil will be sold for the US dollars and the petrodollar monetary system came to be. From Najd will come fitna. From Najd will come earthquakes, and there can be political earthquakes, you know. And finally he said about Najd that that is Qarn al-Shaytan. The word Qarn has two meanings. It can mean a horn, or it can mean an age or an epoch. Proper methodology, not helter-skelter methodology, is to go first to the Book of Allah. And when we go to the Book of Allah, every time that Allah uses the word Qarn in the Quran, always an age, never a horn. And so we come to the conclusion that when he said Qarn al-Shaytan, he was referring to a satanic age. A satanic age. The Saudi attack on Yemen, blatant aggression. Yemen never attacked Saudi Arabia, no. Blatant aggression. And the United Nations shamelessly imposes a sanction on the victim of aggression, as they did in Bosnia. reasons that are so mysterious, decides to abstain on the resolution. The Saudi attack on Yemen is meant to provoke Sunni Shia civil war. That's why. They tried it in Iraq, Sunni Shia civil war. They achieved some success, but not complete success. They tried it in Syria. Sunni Shia civil war, they're beating the drums of war against the Shia. They achieved some success, plenty, bloody success, but they did not achieve complete success. They tried it with the Dajjal's warriors fighting with something called ISIS. Dajjal's warriors. Sunni Shia civil war. ISIS is an anti-Shia outfit, financed by the Zionists, supplied with weapons by the Zionists, trained by Turkey. That's ISIS. Come to give us a bogus caliphate. Those who have eyes and yet cannot see, well, yes, to go and join ISIS and fight to kill our brothers. But if you join ISIS and you die, Imran Hussein will never pray over your body. No. And I'll never stand at your grave. No. So now the last thing they're doing is Yemen, to try to foment Shia-Sunni civil war in the world of Islam. But they plan their plans, and Allah plans His plans. And my analysis, again, is eschatological. That this attack on Yemen is eventually going to culminate with a fire which will come out of Yemen, whether they like it or whether they don't. Prophet Muhammad has prophesied, and that fire will drive them to their place of assembly for judgment.
Yes. Because of what you said, there's a question which is relevant, and ISIS, yeah. What is your take on ISIS? Who do you think are behind the ISIS?
I just answered the question.
Yes. Also, speaking on ISIS, when can we expect a nuclear war?
All right, I had to attend a conference in Tehran in September of last year. And while I was in that conference, I had a dream. I normally don't reveal my dreams in public, but I consider this one to be sufficiently important that I should share it with you. And secondly, the dream was repeated twice at the same time. I saw nuclear war. I saw missiles being shot into the sky, nuclear missiles. And I saw that Pakistan was part of the war, because Pakistan is nuclear state. Once nuclear war starts, that's it. They will go for Pakistan. When I had this dream and I woke up, I remember that I had another dream in which I saw 9/11. But that dream came to me 2 years before 9/11. When 9/11 took place, I said, this is what I saw. Since there was a gap of 2 years between the dream and 9/11, I came to the conclusion that perhaps, and I can be wrong, it probably happened 2 years later, before nuclear war takes place.
And what, according to you, would be the case of Mauritius in a nuclear war?
I don't understand this question.
Yes.
But you don't understand it.
Yes, I'll try to understand that. What would be the case of Mauritius in a nuclear war?
What What will be then?
It's the case of Mauritius.
What will be the case of Mauritius in a nuclear war? It depends on how close Diego Garcia is to Mauritius. Because there is no doubt whatsoever that Diego Garcia will be targeted in nuclear war. It will be beneficial for Mauritius now, in the next year, or year and a half that is left, for the public. Don't wait for the government. Don't wait for the government. For the public, for different like-minded organizations, you don't have to be Muslim, all of you. The public should now engage in an effort of mobilizing public opinion for a united public position in Mauritius of recovering Diego Garcia, okay? And that until such time that Diego Garcia could be recovered, that it should be demilitarized. Demilitarized. You cannot use it for military purposes. When you have a consensus of opinion and public opinion in Mauritius, then you don't wait on your government. You don't wait on your Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You start sending out delegations to neighboring states, all right? To meet with people, not with governments, with people, and try to influence public opinion in neighboring states, so that the entire region around you would have a growing consensus of opinion that Diego Garcia poses a tremendous threat to the security of the entire region, and we are not prepared to live with that threat. Okay? So we support the policy of Mauritius recovering its territory, but the more important thing is that while the process is taking place for trying to recover the territory of Diego Garcia, we want the entire region to join with us, all the people putting pressure on their governments, because you know the governments are all in the pocket of Washington. All the governments will have pressure being brought upon them that this entire region is calling for the demilitarization of Diego Garcia.
One more question. Recently there was a meeting between François Hollande and Angela Merkel with Putin. As for the meeting, Angela Merkel and
the German Chancellor, yeah.
Yes, and François Hollande, the President of France.
Putin and Angela Merkel have been meeting so many times. They're meeting and he agree with it. Yes,
and there was a meeting with François Hollande as well.
Yes, he's also meeting, constantly they're meeting here. It's not nothing new.
So there was a recent meeting. The question is, what is your interpretation of such a meeting?
The meetings with Angela Merkel and François Hollande with Putin, I believe, have as part of their agenda to try to avoid nuclear war. The US Congress wants a nuclear war. The Zionists want a nuclear war. The problem is that when nuclear war takes place, the first people to be destroyed will be Western Europe. The first people to feel the devastating effects of nuclear war would be would be France and Germany. And because they realize that, that's why they've been going up to Putin. The Minsk Accord was actually hammered out because of the initiative of Angela Merkel and Holland, the Minsk Accord for a ceasefire in Ukraine and a political settlement of the conflict in Ukraine. And since then, the place has been fairly quiet in Ukraine. But the Zionists are not going to allow Angela Merkel and François Hollande to stand in the way When Holland made an announcement that in his opinion, and in the opinion of the French government, the sanctions against Russia were not working, and we should revisit these sanctions. Within 2 days, Charlie Hebdo landed in the flat. It took 2 days for Charlie Hebdo to occur. And that was the end of it. We never heard Holland speak again on that subject. Finished. Public opinion does not allow him to speak on that subject anymore. This is the power that the Zionists have. So I don't think that it is possible to avoid nuclear war. Number two, that the longer they wait to attack Russia, of course they say Russia will attack us, as usual. The longer they wait to attack Russia, the stronger will Russia become. So time is on Russia's side. Time for Russia, the longer they wait to attack Russia, the more benefit it will be for Russia. So I would not be surprised if the war does take place and take place soon.
We have those last question. We have
Last question.
yes. Yes. Il fait un séjour assez bref parce qu'il doit un long voyage. Il sort du Brésil, Trinidad, il passe en Afrique du Sud, et il a des Maurice, et il va en Malaisie. Il sort de Malaisie, il va la Russie, il sort de la Russie, il va l'Algérie, il va l'Iran, et puis il va l'Algérie, et puis là-bas il va la Grèce. Après il préfère se tourner mondial, comme d'habitude. Et il vous reste quelques jours. La dernière conférence, the next conference will be on Friday. Juma, rather, sorry. Yes, Juma. And inshallah, that was 39 yes, ce vendredi-là. Et après Isha, c'est même ici. Et le thème sera the International Monetary System and the Future of Money. Okay. C'est un thème qui...
Brother Farid will also speak.
Yes, we have Brother Farid Magas, who is a member of the ICC board, who is a financial analyst and expert in the finance sector as well, and so he will be part of the lecture. He has lectured in so many countries, and you have this opportunity to hear him, so to listen to him as well. Et along with Sheikh Manoussien as well, vendredi. Et ça devient un topic assez sérieux. The International Monetary System and the Future of Money. Et ça fait un peu de temps que je me dis, on a beaucoup de chef cause sur ce topic-là. Et vous pensez qu'à ce stade, il est très important pour évoquer ce topic-là, parce qu'il nous connaît du secteur financier de ce qui va passer actuellement, du système monétaire dans qui vous nous parlez de cette façon. Et donc, chez vous, intervenir à ce sujet-là, un sujet très sérieux, qui demande beaucoup d'attention aussi. Ça se serait vendredi, ici même à ICC, après Isha. Et samedi matin, nous pourrions avoir un séminaire, un half-day séminaire, c'est-à-dire entre 9h et à midi, ici même à ICC, low riba. Chef pour intervenir dans le séminaire, low riba, low intérêt, low usure, et ça y est un séminaire qui c'est pour un different workshop, qu'on va avoir une interaction directe sur le sujet. Et ceux qui sont intéressés, vous pouvez avoir your critical welcome, vous pouvez avoir une samedi matin de vers midi. Et voilà, c'est ces deux interventions qui restaient. Et passe le message, vous demandez passe le message à tout le monde, on va faire etc. Donc Facebook aussi, et passe le message qui vendredi du présent Inch'Allah. Et si vous avez n'importe quelle query, quelle question, feel free to ask Sheikh Manoussien. Ok? C'est encore vrai. Et je remercie aussi frère Sambletan, qui est le board ICC, qui donne nous l'opportunité pour intervenir, Sheikh Manoussien intervenir en 3 occasions. Et c'est une très bonne initiative, et j'espère que ça démarchera de continuer bien à l'avenir, Inch'Allah. Et je vous souhaite bon vote, Inch'Allah. Salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.